Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. On this podcast, we have real talk about marriage, divorce, money, and legacy. And I want you to join me on the journey. I share insight from the various hats that I've worn in my life that have helped me develop strategies and actionable steps that I've used to help my clients make a strategic impact, both personally and professionally, to have better than what life has been given them. I share that insight with you here, and I want this podcast to challenge your thoughts and inspire you to grow. So together, we can operate in excellence. Today, I'm going to give a little insight about how to deal with the financial chaos that some of us may have found ourselves in after our divorce. Because when I went through the mess then, I was broke and broken. A lot of you know my story. And when you find yourself being unemployed after a divorce, it takes a lot for you to try to financially reset. But you still have to assess where you are. It doesn't matter what your financial goals are. If you don't know where you are, what's happening right now with your finances, no matter what you do, you are going to fail. You cannot create a path forward if you're not certain where you stand. So, one of the first things I had to do, I was clear, did not have a job. So, what income did I have available to me? One of the things that I'm thankful that I did do before the divorce took me out financially was set aside some money inside of a 401k. So, I did have access to a past 401k that I could liquidate. I did take a moment to liquidate that. That is not something that I encourage you to do. But if you find yourself in a position where you have absolutely nothing, you may need to start liquidating some things to give you a chance to get a fresh start. But I encourage you, start setting up something that will provide you with the income interest bearing moments that a 401k or a TSP or whatever financial venue that you found yourself in so that you can grow some money. So I did take that money out, but I was not just taking it out just for day to day living. If you are going to take money out of anything, take money out of something that you already have possession of, or borrow money to help fuel you through whatever your financial situation, have a plan of action for it. You see, when I liquidated that fund, I liquidated it for partly to pay the rent for that month. But the rest of the money I've invested inside of a business because I needed something that was going to be income bearing. By putting in some of the funds that I had available into a business to start all over again, it gave me a portion of what I needed. Next, I had to determine if what I had created to give me financial support was enough or not. There are times a lot of us are working hard, doing a lot, bringing in the best we think we can, but we often find it's still not enough. Do you know exactly what enough is? I want you to take a moment, write down all the bills that you have. Because if you don't know all of your bills, and I'm talking about even the little teeny ones that you just go off and just do something like a pack of gum, you think it's just discretionary income because it may just be $1. No, you need to keep track of that dollar. There was a previous podcast where I shared that every dollar needs a job. You need to be clear about where every dollar you make goes. Either you are intentional with it or it's intentional with you. So if you have clarity about all of your bills, because I took the time to write them all out, it does something to you when you write it out, because writing triggers an element in your brain that something needs to be done. Because now everything is laid out, everything is in one space, and your brain will start putting together different things that you'll start seeing that can support you. When I wrote out all of my bills and was clear about all of the income that I had bringing in, it was at that point I can get more clarity about what was enough. So when I looked at the bills, I determined that I had money that would get me through about 3 weeks out of a month. Still couldn't cover all of my debts, but the immediate things that I needed for day to day living, I could only maintain 3 weeks. So that meant I had to make some other adjustments. I shared in a different session that there are freelance opportunities that you may be able to add for extra income. Go online, look for those things. And I have no association with Upwork or Fiverr, but I have used them as a business owner to support my business. So I know you can go there to be able to put yourself in a position to start getting yourself out there to get someone to utilize your services. Here's another thing I've shared: there's a gift that you were born to do. You need to be mindful of what that gift is, because that gift is often how you will start making your income. One of the things I know I do well, I am an amazing administrative assistant. If I walk through a situation or inside of a corporation, I can do the admin stuff without even thinking about it. That was something that I ended up choosing to do, because after the divorce, I had to get a job that would give me some health insurance. And that's a whole separate conversation. But because I recognized that my freelance work was not paying enough to give me the health insurance that I needed for my kids, I had to do a job that was administrative initially to get the service that I need to make certain that my babies were whole. If you feel you have to take a step back from something that you know could do better so that you can later on springboard into a better position, do it. Don't let shame take you out. I had an electrical engineering degree as a secretary. And I know a lot of people want to use current terms, but you all are pretty much aware of what I'm talking about. So, as an admin with a degree, I did what I needed to do, but I maximized the use of my skills so that that was a temporary moment. When you find yourself in a position that you really don't want to be in, map out. Give yourself a time period that you will be in that moment so that you can start creating a plan of action along the way. I knew taking that job, I did not want to be in that position for more than 6 months. It took me 8 months staying there before I really got out of it to move to where I was trying to go. But I still had a plan. And because I had the plan initially, as I was getting closer to the 6 months, I started to evaluate: do I need to do any other adjustments than what I'm doing? Is there something here that should be tweaked so that I can be better supported and be a better support system? Because where I wanted to be, maximizing the use of what I brought to the table, is the same thing that you're going to have to do to get to your best position. So, after I finished assessing what my bills were, getting clear about where the gaps were and what I needed to fill out, I got the job that I needed to sustain me so that it was no longer just enough. Now I was at a position where I can pay for a full month's worth of debts and day to day living. Still hadn't covered all of the stuff that I owed. There may be moments where you are working and you know that your paycheck to paycheck just covers day to day, but you have all these debts that are still piling up. Put a plan in place. I knew what the minimum amount was on all of the bills. And then I decided to negotiate. Some of you may have heard me share this before. Reach out to your creditors. Negotiate what you owe. Lots of times, especially when they know that you are willing to pay it, if they can get something out of you to help keep that account moving or keep that account going, you can always negotiate how you can restructure your payment plan. You may need to move from the 1st to the 15th. You may need to have, instead of $100 a month to pay on that, you may need to pay $75 a month on it. And they can extend the fees or move whatever the amounts are on the back end of your deal. Whatever it is, you can negotiate. There's nothing wrong with making a phone call. And here's the thing: all they can do is say no. And if they say no, then nothing else has changed. It doesn't hurt to ask. So ask for what you need. Put yourself in a position so that you can be as successful as possible. Now, when I took the time to speak to my creditors, the amount of debt that I had, because a lot of you know that I had $35,000 worth of debt that was left to me in the aftermath of my divorce. I cleared that up in 2 years. And one of the ways I cleared that up was talking to my creditors. Talking to them cleared up $5,000 I never had to pay back. So when I say talk to your creditors, oh, I'm intentional about that. because it'll give you a way of getting a stepping stone. And once I talked to them and renegotiated what was the current debt, getting clarity about what my new debt was, then I started using a technique. Some of you may have heard about this financial technique if you're in the financial world, called snowballing. You take whatever, if you're dealing with interest bearing accounts, the highest interest bearing account, I often say start with that one. You can sometimes hear people say start with the smallest payment that you have so that you can get a win. You are still racking up a lot with that if it's a high interest. So pick the high interest debt first and whittle it away. That way, you're not stuck on the back end having to pay more than you need. Just pay it off. And if you have a credit card, I often share with my clients, don't close the card immediately. Let that payment settle into your score so that you can get a boost in your credit rating. And I'll come back another time and have a conversation about the 5 factors of credit that are associated with it. But when you pay off the high interest ones first, once that's paid off, go to the next high interest bearing account. Use the amount that you have paid on the first one. Add the payments that you're currently paying because you're still making the minimum payments on all your other debts. Once that first one is paid off, add that amount to the second debt and continue and continue and continue until you get clarity about what your debt-free date is. And you can use a simple tool to help you walk through that process. I have often used an Excel spreadsheet that does a countdown for my debts. You can use that as well. And in this day and age, there are a lot of resources that's available online. So search online to find what you need to support you in your journey. Finally, wrapping this up a little bit because I know I've given you a lot. Once you are clear about what your debts are, once you are clear about your financial needs to know what exactly is enough, once you have assessed and renegotiated with your creditors where you are so that you can really get to where you want to be, now start finding ways to add to your income. I said earlier, there's a gift that you were born with, a gift and a seed of your soul that will give you the opportunity to make extra income. I started my business again after my divorce, but I recognized that I wasn't making enough money to be able to pay for health care for my children. So I had to pause that until I can reposition myself and started working full time. Having the full-time income gave me the opportunity to pick up my business on my part-time moment. I've often shared, while you're working your 9 to 5, maximize your 5 to 9. So I maximized what I was doing. And in maximizing what I was doing in my business, it gave me the opportunity to clear up that other $30,000 worth of stuff. You can get an idea of what that is. And I have mapped out, because of all the things I just shared with you, that it would take me 2 years to clear up $35,000 worth of debt. When you're intentional about what you need, intentional about how you'll be processing it, intentional about what your next step is, that strategy will take you where you want to go and get you into a better financial position. And so for today, if you don't remember anything else I've shared, here's the one thing I want you to know. Get clear about what you owe so that you can manage your finances accordingly. Create the plan to get debt free, and you can get there. And if you want someone to join you on the journey, feel free to go to my website, TanyaEhood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. And if you're on Instagram, you can join me live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we can continue the conversation or we can start a new one. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.